Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here, Warlock Necromancer. Okay? So, tonight I want to talk on a few topics. So, yesterday, we're let's just say today I'm going to start with souls and pacts. Okay? Because a lot of people really want to know about this, while others have a misinterpretation of what it stands for and what it means to do so. So, this question, or I should say statement, comes from my messenger page. And it comes from Celtic Hartwell. Okay. She says, question for you. And this might even be another video or YouTube video to do sometime. What do you think of the concept of selling one's soul? I've tended to be dismissive of the idea, thinking it to be the domain of Hollywood and fiction novels. Basically, Faust. Okay? Still, there are some who have said otherwise. So, since this is actually playing into what I got to speak tonight, and I was planning on doing that one as a particular video on itself, but like I said, it's going in tonight's video because it has something to do with what I'm about to speak on. So here it goes. Selling your soul. You get a lot of emails when you are a public figure, when you are considered to be an elder within any given tradition, be it a teacher, priest, whatever. And most of the time, you get these from third world countries that are poverty stricken. Okay. Most of them just want to play games. They don't want to do the work or put the work in to dedicate themselves and commit themselves to the traditions. So they treat it as a game. A lot of times it's these morons that want to come through and go, hey, how do I sell my soul to Satan to become part of the great Illuminati? That type of bullshit. Well, for one, I don't reply to that bullshit. I don't. You bring that shit up to me, I'm just going to ignore you and overlook you and go on to the next. But here it is. If you look back over the last 500 years, 1,000 years even, you will notice through the book of Tobit, the Zohar, the Talmud, the poetical texts, or even certain grimoire traditions like the Grand Grim War, Red Dragon. The big one would be the 15th century Faustbach, Dr. Faust himself. Today, this is known as a classical play. Okay? Even in the Necromaicon, there is a pact that must be made between you and a spirit, between you and that system of magic that you are getting into. So, There is a difference between the system aligning yourself with a current. Say, for an example, you're interested in working with demons, okay, and only demons. As an example, demonolators like S. Connolly have done this. They solely want to work with the demonic, and those that rule over them, the first class, the fallen angels. But for the most part, you're working with demons, okay? The forces of darkness. So there's a difference between aligning yourself with a current like Satanism. You're aligning yourself with hell, okay? This is a current, the current itself within the forces of darkness. This is where you make a blood pact with, okay? You are dedicating and committing yourself to that type of work. Now, when you make a pact, an oath with a particular spirit, this is not done out of the faint of heart. This is not a mere one time fucking thing where you delve into it for playtime. This is putting away your childish ideals and taking the oath and the pact serious. It's one thing to align yourself with the forces of darkness, but it is something completely different when you work with spirits, independent spirits, or a group of spirits. In this case, like I said, let's use demonology for just for an example. Let's say, for an example, you want to work with Satan or Lucifer, Beelzebub, or even Ashtaroth. Okay, you would need to approach these beings through their lieutenants. You would have to bring in Lucifer's Raphael, the ancient scribe and pact maker, to even begin to not only record the agreement between you and that spirit, but to be able to get in contact with a lieutenant, maybe a underling, a servant. So you would call on this spirit and work with that spirit, gain its trust. You see, that trust goes both ways. So this takes place over time, commitment and dedication to the common goals between you and that spirit. Long before they decide, okay, you're somebody I think my master would like to work with. So I'm going to introduce you to this spirit, okay, to my master. Okay, and in this case, let's say Paimon to Lucifer. Paimon is very, very loyal to Lucifer. So you would go through Paimon to get to Lucifer, the emperor, the prince, the emperor, depending on if you're dealing with modern day demonolatry or you're dealing with grimoire systems, which calls him the emperor, the ruler. So you would have to gain his trust. You would have to work your ass off to sit down with the spirit and to get him to talk to you. And once you do, and you decide, you know what, I want to work with you on a full time basis, let's set up a blood pact. Let's set up a deal. Let's do a pact and align ourselves together for the common good, for the common, you know, arrangement or agreement that you will be making with that spirit for a lifetime bond. Okay. So you would do this. Now, keeping in mind, you would have to do your research because you have a blood pact, you have the infernal pact, a demonic pact, and a dark pact. All four of these pacts are different. Okay. And a lot of people don't know that. They treat it as a game. Well, let's say I'm going to pick up the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. I'm going to go to the book of Belial, and I'm going to do the invocation to Satan. Guess what? I am a Lord of Darkness. I am this. I am that. You can't fucking touch me. Bullshit. I'll walk up and punch you right in the fucking throat. See how your little pact goes there if you don't take it serious. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Okay? You got so many out there that don't take it seriously and then will sit back and wonder, why didn't my wishes come true? Why is the spirits not fulfilling my desires, my dreams? Okay? Well, did you read the fine print? When you made out that pact, did you fulfill it on your end? The spirits only work in the spiritual realm. You have to also work in the physical. If you're going for a job for money and you call upon Boone for protection and Viney for the currency, did you actually go out and fill out that application for that job? Did you go to the manager of that store and say, "Hey, I filled out an application yesterday or last week. I'm just following up on it"? No, you did not. And you expect the spirits to go, "Oh, there you go. It's all yours." You see, when people get into the Grand Grimoire or the Grand Grimoire Red Dragon, even the Clavicle of Solomon or that of the Constitution of Pope Honorius, just to name a few, you have a rod of power and you force a demon to submit to you. You see, this is the JCI train of thought. And a lot of times when you get somebody that's coming into demonolatry or any given form or tradition that is much, much older than that of the JCI, the Judo Christian institutions, you're bringing this baggage with you. That limiter of thought. You're not humbling yourself and giving the proper, packs and the proper gifts and sacrifices, okay, to that spirit. Certain spirits demand a lot from you. Others will just sit there and go, I'll help you here, but I'm not going to help you there. It's up to you. Others will sit there and go, just do it yourself. Why should I help you? Zaniel, for an example, the teacher of witchcraft, grimoire of Armadale, he will take you for a joyride. He will wait months just to see what you will do before he even begins to open up to you. This is my point. Know who you are summoning, know who you're making a pact with. Okay. And most importantly, know your craft. All right. So, how does this relate to some of the other things that I got planned here that I'm going to be discussing? The Warlock's View, for an example, and I'm talking to you from Warlock to Warlock, okay, right now. You got to understand that a lot of times what you want is not necessarily for your benefit. You see this much, the spirits see this much, okay? And I want you to consider this because of the fact that you have a lot of people that come to me specifically, okay? How do your rituals work? You have no information, no nothing on your profile. Why would I reply to you? It's a brand new profile. That kind of tells me that something's up, something's hinky. You got others coming to me saying, "Hey, how do I gain riches and fit, money to get out of this predicament that I'm now finding myself in. Now, which one of these two would I be more inclined to help? You know what I'm saying? So, even if I decide to help this other guy that's found himself in a predicament and needs financial support or a method of employment, even, then I would have to show him and lead him to certain texts, trusting that even though he's from, like, say, Ghana or Indonesia, maybe even Ethiopia, you know, Malaysia, even, or even Vietnam, South Korea, wherever, one of these third world countries, that he's going to go out and get on Google, get on, download, like, say, oh, I don't know, let's go with Scribd, okay, and download the PDFs of the materials that I put forth to him. Now, is he going to go out and actually read and study these texts? Is he going to apply them to his life? Or should I just sit back and see what he does? You see the point? Not everybody is meant for your help. You can't help everybody. It's physically impossible because you would drain yourself. But if you're working with a spirit and you go and you work with a spirit, you need to show that spirit respect. Give that spirit honor. Okay. For an example, I've been working with certain spirits since last October. I've been choosing one spirit per month to work with, just one spirit. That means studying, practicing, going into the ritual room and working, invoking and summoning the spirit, making phylacteries like talismans and amulets, dedicating those to this particular spirit, to that particular hierarchy, blessing it and consecrating it with the items necessary for that, keeping on hand a journal, keeping on hand a pen or a pencil, something that will help me record what I'm doing. Right here on my laptop, for an example, I don't know how many files that I have started that are dedicated to those month-long rituals that I've been doing, spiritual communions. Working with these independent spirits is not a faint of heart thing. It is something that you need to respect. For an example, a while back, about a year and a half ago, I lost my temper at work. Not really proud of it. I ended up punching one of the machines. And afterwards, it was like, why did that blow out of proportion so quickly? Only to find out that a particular spirit had latched itself on, had appeared, has a history of warfare, creating warfare, chaos, anger, rage, but more so because of the current that I've been working with for the last 3 years on a full-time basis. I went to my elder and I said, "Hey, you know, this is what just transpired today, and I'm kind of curious what the hell just happened. Why did it happen?" And this elder came back and he said, "It seems like you tapped into this." So I started delving into that hierarchy. I started delving into the spirits there, and I understood exactly what he meant. Controlling your emotions, controlling the power that you've generated, that you've created through your rites and rituals in your personal journey into apotheosis, into the magics, and while you're evolving. You see, emotions within rituals and rites are a very powerful amplifier. Without discipline and control, you could easily burn down the world, so to speak. You can easily do this. And while working with this group of spirits, I realized more and more that this elder was right. They started showing me my past. They started working through a lot of turmoil that was going on at that time. More so, looking back, my boss at the time had a triple bypass after having a severe heart attack. Since then, so many employees just got up and got done. They lost three-fourths of their work crew at that store in a month. Do you know what it's like to work in fast food with maybe three people, dealing with about 600 to 800 vehicles throughout the day with only three people? It raises hell, literally. And I realized soon after that what I had petitioned was being manifested. Not in the way that I wanted it to, but it was more of the fact that they were giving me that taste, that experience that I had requested. You see what I mean? Just because you want something doesn't mean that it's meant to happen. It's not that it's not meant to be something of a disrespectful nature. No, it's, are you ready for this? Are you prepared to do this? And it's very interesting to see how they work this. Now at the time, after I had done this, because I'd been denied this position, I don't know how many times over the few months up leading up to this changeover, this event. It was something that just transpired out of the blue. The store manager came in. I noticed he was looking a little pale. He was talking all right, working all right. And he went to a second job. The next day, we found out he had a severe heart attack and had a triple bypass and was going to be out for months. They weren't even sure if he was coming back. And it was interesting because it was soon after this, I had to sit down with the owner and the district manager. And I made my intent, quite frankly, known. And they avoided it like the plague. They lied right to you, right to my face. And after that, it was just downhill from there. So many people just got up and left. They couldn't even, every time they hired like three people, they couldn't even keep the people. And then on top of that, to make things worse, I ended up becoming a closer for a short time. That taste of what I was going for. And that other shoe dropped, and you got a whole new outlook on that. You see, magic and spiritual work is similar to this. You don't always see what the spirits are doing. All you know is that you petition that spirit for a particular outcome. Certain spirits, like Santa Morte, are very jealous spirits, very demanding and overbearing, so to speak. Tend to look at Santa Morte like a child, really, but in a goddess form. Saint Death. She's one of those ones that works both aspects of the spectrum, light spectrum to be precise. She's able to ascend and descend at will. You don't have to go through a gatekeeper. You don't have to go through um, different spirits to get to a divinity. She does it all. She's a protector, a provider, the whole king caboodle. Then you have spirits like Papa Legba, for an example, the gatekeeper. Very jealous, very demanding, especially when he's requiring the proper gifts. But he can also fuck up your world, especially if you disrespect him. And it's interesting to see because of the fact that he opens up the door to other spirits. Spirits like Baroness Dembella, Papa Gedi, Baron Samedi, even. And it's interesting because not all spirits are the same. They all approach you differently. They all come at you in a particular demeanor. Look at the nine kings of the Goetia, for an example. Some of them are nicer to work with, while others are downright unpleasant. But hey, it works. But you got to know who you're dealing with. What are the things that they like? What kind of incense do they like? What time of the day or night, the hour is best to summon them? What is the best day to summon them, to bring them forth? What kind of metals work well with them from a planetary or zodiac structure? Look at squares. A lot of people like squares these days, the magical squares with the numerology or the main alphabets when it comes to summoning spirits. Look at the Magus, for an example, Volume 1. Look at the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage, another one that has these magical squares. Look at the Black Arts by Richard Cavendish. He speaks on them from both numbers and numerology. Okay, some even work on planetary structures or even the planetary dimensions. The spheres. And it's very interesting to see this because all of this plays into an effect when dealing with certain spirits. When you go with Lucifer, it's Venus, Latin. What do you think he is? What do you think he represents? The morning star, the day star, especially if you're calling him by the ancient Greek, Phosphoros. You go to the dark planet, Saturn. You're dealing with Azazel. You're dealing with the planetary symbols. You're dealing with the spirit of that planet. You're dealing with, a number of different aspects that just go along with the planetary structures, not just the spheres themselves. There are so many dimensions and so many, well, realms that you can transpire to and descend and ascend to that through your own practices, through your own um, devices. That's the best way I could tell you. Does your own special devices that you form. Think divination. How many times have I told you that witchcraft is made up of witchcraft, necromancy, divination, and possession? My own apprentice tonight contacted me while I was in the middle of chanting. Ended up getting a side of me that made it flat out jump. He did not expect that. So, if you want to get into blood pacts, if you want to get into pacts, you want to make deals with these spirits, make sure that you approach them with respect. Make sure that you approach them with the proper offerings and sacrifices, the gifts. Make sure that you show them respect, give them the honor that they deserve because they've already been where you are and they have evolved. They have ascended or descended, depending on how you look at it. But this is not a path that you want to take lightly. I want you to think about, why are you undergoing this path? Why are you undergoing the rites and rituals that go along with pledging your service to them? Are you trying to be their apprentice? Are you looking for power? Are you looking for, you know, to benefit your personal life? And if so, why the fuck would you sell your soul? Black magic has nothing to do with selling your soul. Just about every craft out there, be it necromancy, shamanism, voodoo, santeria, palo, brujeria, whatever, nobody sells their soul. In voodoo or even necromancy, let's go with the necromyicon, you can always take souls. You could always bind souls. I mean, look at Haitian voodoo for an example. The zombie powder, the zombie myth, the mythos. Right now, over the last 10 years or so, I believe down in Haiti, there's actually a an individual that was let go from the duties of being a zombie. You can find that one right here on YouTube. But if you go into, say, for an example, well, let's go with offerings and sacrifices. You look at the Aztecs or even the Gaelic Druids. They were renowned for organ removals, blood removals, extraction of the blood, hemomancy. You go to Salem, New Hampshire, for an example, just out of an example. You'll notice that the altar is where the individual would be strapped down to. There would be a priest, a druid underneath, holding a bucket of some kind and taking that blood that was drained from the person or animal, and it has those little creases that go from where the wrist and the hand is and goes down along the sides to these little holes where it goes down underneath where the druid would be standing and waiting. If you go down to Aztec territory or even Mayan, you go to their temples and you'll notice the altars. You look at the old mythos and the old archaeology, discoveries. They literally ripped the beating hearts out of their victims as human sacrifices. It's ironic to see, but gruesome. It must have been gruesome for people back in those days to see. The last thing that they see is their hearts stop beating after being removed from their chest. You go to the Yom Kippur, for an example, the Hebrew and Judaism rite, animal sacrificing. Talk about gruesome, bloody. You have the entrails that are left on the altar underneath the hot sun. You have the blood that is put in an urn, and the carcass is set on fire to stimulate their god. Name one god that gets turned on by rotting flesh, or in this case, burning flesh. You see, that was the unblemished goat that was sacrificed to Yahweh, Yeshua. Okay. The other one, the blemished goat, for an example, ran down a rocky cliff and would have their legs all carved, well, let's just call it the way it is, carvings to slaughter, so to speak. The muscles, the tendons, and they would have messengers at certain intervals down that mountain, that rocky mountain ravine, to report back just how far down that goat got before it could no longer go any further. Human and animal sacrifices had been a part of religions and philosophies for hundreds of thousands of years. Doesn't matter if you're talking Mayans and Aztecs to, say, for an example, Vikings and Anglo Saxons. Their rites were pretty gruesome too. You go into the Hexa or the Strega, the Eshi or the Aji, you know, you get into the necromantic rites. And a lot of people, when they get into these rites and they want to make the blood pacts, they want to work with spirits. Why the fuck is it always about selling your soul? Okay, why is it always about selling your soul? Well, I'll tell you. This first came around the 15th century with the Faustbach, the Faustian deal. That's where that got started. That's where that got started. Don't get me started on the fact that it was also put in with the Mad Arab, the Necronomicon, going as far as ancient Sanskrit, the original scrolls, not Simon's or H.P. Lovecraft. But it's interesting to see, why is it that you want to sell your soul? Why do you want to give away your soul? It would be better to be and behoove you to work your ass off, learn the rites, learn your pantheon, learn your system of magic, and evolve. That's how you gain power, through knowledge, through wisdom, the true meaning of witches and warlocks, not this bullshit that they call them today. And it's very interesting to see because of the fact that it's more about segregation today than anything. It really is. I mean, if you look at it, you're aligning yourself with specific currents. Everything else is either of the devil, evil, you know, good, evil, right, wrong, whatever. But the pacts and the deals still remain the same. Has nothing to do with selling your soul. It's a common belief today through the JCI that Satan is a murderer. Nowhere in the Bible or any of the biblical scriptures does it say he killed anybody. Yeshua killed people. Allah killed people. Yahweh, the entire pantheon, killed people. Do I have to remind you of the book of Revelations where he's threatening to end the world? Or how about the Great Flood? Remember that the next time you think about selling your soul. Remember that the next time you get into your grimoires or into magic. What is it about this that you really want to get into? What is it that attracts you to it? Is this something that you want to play around with? And if so, you might as well just burn the books that you have already because you've already failed. The spirits that I've worked with for so many years, they've never demanded my soul, and I've never offered my soul. I've blessed and consecrated my entire body to a system of spirits, to a specific current. I've broken the 10 commandments, both physically and spiritually. But here's the thing. Not once have I given away my soul. I have bought people's souls to place on enemies so that they will perish in the same manner or even something more gruesome. I'll even take your soul for payment until you supply your funds, and then I'd give it back. I may even take my enemy's souls for more power, give them to the spirits that I work with. But no, I would not sell my soul to anyone. I don't expect you to either. So I want you to think about three things. First, what is it about magic or black magic that you are interested in? Why did you get into it? Number two, is this a pantheon that you want to get into? Is this a system of magic that you want to get into? Is this something that you relate to? Okay. Is this something that you can see yourself doing a lifetime worth of study and research in to better yourself and eventually your clients? And number three, what is your overall intent behind getting into the systems? Where do you see yourself 5, 10 years down the road? Where do you see yourself going in this world? 10 years ago, just out of an example, if you had asked me, do you see yourself as a mate? Do you see yourself as a father? I would have told you you were crazy. If you had told me that I would have been an ordained minister back starting in 2013, I would have told you that you were crazy. But here I am. Blessings on top of blessings. Because I'm loyal to the spirits. I'm loyal to my oath that I have given to those spirits. They work in the spiritual, I work in the physical. And yet, if you actually take the time to pay attention to what a necromancer does, or even that of a shaman, you have one foot in the grave and one foot in the world. You're working with the dead and the living. A warlock is very, very powerful because we spend all our time mastering the arcane. When we're not working or doing our responsibilities with family, meaning our spouse, our children, we're practicing, we're researching. I can't tell you how many notes that I have on just on herbalism, things that I've been studying and practicing, working with oleums and tinctures, okay, with drinks, remedies for healing, remedies for cursing. If it wasn't for one spirit in particular that specialized in baneful sorcery, I would never have thought about taking a cursing jar with symbols and place it into a debunk box for eternal suffering and isolation. I don't know about you, but that is vile magic right there. That is vile magic. Baneful sorcery right there. That is fucked up, but amazing. And that's because I've made a pact with these spirits. That's because I've aligned myself with their currents. I give them the attention that they deserve. I use the rites, the rituals, the languages, everything that I have learned just in the last 3 years out of example since I stepped foot into necromancy and and dedicated myself publicly to this system. Yes, I'm still working with demons. Yes, I'm working with Satan and Asmodeus. I'm working with Beelzebub and Astaroth. I have not broken my vows with the demonic. I've just simply added onto it. And it's been a journey the last 3 years. Today, I got on Facebook and realized it's been 1 year since I started delving into Haitian Voodoo. 1 year. That should tell you how much time has flown by just through my own studies and practices. What can you do? What can you do if you put away these childish dreams, these pipe dreams that are limiting you? What can you do to further your career, your lifestyle within these traditions? How about learning? Do you know the difference between water hemlock and regular hemlock? What about the how many different types of the species Oriolander are there? Better yet, what are the top 10 types of poisons? Or better, how about what are the nine healing herbs from Norse mythology? You don't know, do you? Well, you would know the answers to these. In my last video, I discussed my boss, my current manager, who has a certain pre existing ailments. And he asked me for certain things. And I gave him 2 pages of it. Just 2 pages right off the bat to look into. Come to think about it, I've been so busy this week, I forgot to write down the other one for him that he asked for. It's okay. I can give it to him on Saturday. And I can't believe it's 9:38 already. I got to be up and at 5 a.m. to go to work. Pretty cool. It's been 50 minutes and 21 seconds and counting. And I just dropped a whole shitload of information on you like it was nothing. Again, this is what happens when you know your shit. This is what happens when you know your craft. Now, you take all those popular sites, how many of them can actually help you along your path? Or do they just play to your whims and scam you out of all your money? Think about that. Delve into your pacts, delve into your spirits. Why have somebody else do it for you when you can do it yourself? See, that's the difference between a Bokor, a Marimberos, and a Warlock, a Necromancer. We spend all our time practicing, studying, researching. Everybody else is in it for herd conformity, popularity, numbers. That's what you want to be, then take a hike. But if you want to actually learn and you want to study, you want to know what it's like to be a real practitioner, by all means, by all means, hit that subscribe button. By all means, follow me. Those that I associate with, feel free to follow them. You'll learn a lot. I could name off very few individuals that I would recommend that you follow. Very, very few individuals. Now, the question is that something that you're interested in? But again, it comes down to you and what you are going for. What is it that you desire? The Tomb of the Scarab, Temple of Mazajira, Grail of the Serpent, Behemoth X, Alistair Knott, Light from the Darkness. Hell, even Curtis Joseph, you know? Their work is very, very interesting. At least they actually know what they're doing. But yet, people are going to believe whatever the fuck they want to believe. They want to be led by the hand. They want to feel like they're a part of something. I could care less about that crap. I do what I love doing. I love researching, practicing magic, hanging out in cemeteries, working with spirits. That's just me. What about you? Again, your choice. It comes down to you. But for now, I want you to take this gnosis. I want you to contemplate it. I want you to meditate upon it. And then decide for yourself. All right? Have a good day or night, depending on where you are. I'm out. Yes, and